So I'm going to give that intro again. So this is the October 8th Gabby Gathering, the last of a series until November. And we have Tin Smith from the Great Works Regional Land Trust. He's going to make a presentation on the conservation efforts around the Boston lot. And the library does not take any position either way on these things. This is an informational presentation from the library's point of view, but of course, the Tin and the participants have their opinions and they're welcome to voice them, but the library takes no position either way on any of this. So over to Tin Smith of the Great Works Regional Trust.
Thank you, David, and thanks to the Memorial Library for this opportunity. And thanks all of you for joining us in on this fallish afternoon. Again, my name is Tin Smith. I live in Wells. I'm a board member of the Great Works Regional Land Trust. I've been with the organization since its beginning 35 years ago. The organization encompasses, it's a nonprofit, community-based organization. We do provide conservation services to towns and landowners. We cover the six towns actually of the 3 Berwicks: Elliott, Wells, and Ogunquit. So those are our 6 areas. There are over 83 community land trusts in Maine, and we are one of them. We're one of the largest ones geographically. Most of them are just orientated in a single community. And like I said, we provide conservation options for landowners. If you are interested in conserving your property past your ownership, or as the case is, or in permanent, we can help you with that service, and also in land management. The organization is supported by members. We have over 1,000 members in our communities. Like I said, we've been around for 35 years. We've done 131 projects. That's working with 131 landowners. We've protected or conserved just about 7,000 acres. It's been really exciting here, particularly as our communities tend to develop and get more built up, that we're balancing that growth and development with open space and conservation. And exactly that's the mission of the Land Trust, to save our woodlands and forest lands and water quality into the future, as well as accommodate growth. This is a great project. This is the old Boston land. It's up on North Village Road, both sides of the road. We've been working on this project for quite some time, a little over 3 years. I should add that I'm a project manager for this, along with Doug Mayer, and he's also on the Ogunquit Conservation Commission, is on this call, and perhaps can help answer some questions. And also,
hello, Tin. Can you pin your video so you are the main part of the screen?
Yeah, how do you do
go
that?
Up into the right-hand corner. There's 3 dots.
Yeah.
And
which one do I choose?
Well, there's something about pinning or unpinning a video.
How's that? That works on my screen.
Okay, raise your hand, anybody, if you just see Tin. Okay, very good. Thank you. Go ahead, Tin. Continue on.
So okay. I was wondering how that part worked. And the other project manager is Keith Fletcher, and he's from the Maine Coast Heritage Trust. I'm going to show a short video here that Val put together. I'm hoping the audio will work, but if not, I'll do my best for narration. That's to give you some sense of the property. We've been negotiating with the Driscoll family, the owners of this property. It's been in their family for over 200 years. They are now no longer able to own it and are selling the property. We talked to them took about 1.5 years to agree to sell both parcels to us. It's 2 parcels, one about 50 acres, another roughly 100 acres. But they did agree last summer to sell it in 2 parcels on 2 different closings, and for about a little bit over $1 million. And so that's where we are today. We've been raising that money. We did get a grant from the Maine Natural Resource Conservation Program, which is a mitigation fund, and they gave us $860,000. So they gave us quite a chunk of the money. And with that, we felt we could be successful in protecting the property if the town of Ogunquit participated to about $300,000. And that's what we're asking the town. And that's what's going to be on the ballot in November. So with that, I think I'll try showing the video, because that's exactly what this project is about. Let me see if I can see. So let's see. Can any of you hear me there? Can you hear the video?
Jen, I've muted everybody. I think they probably can't. They can
Okay.
hear you, but they can't hear the video.
That's right.
That's
Okay,
right.
that's excellent. I'll sort of do my best. I'll continue the video on, but mainly what I wanted you to get a sense of. That's unfortunate because the video is excellent, and it really gives a sense of the land and the property and the qualities that it will protect. But I'll just show it here. So this is what we're really talking a lot about is the water quality in the Ogunquit River, and how the town of Ogunquit really thrives on clean water. I mean, the whole economy is based on this. And this is a project that accommodates a lot of uses and a lot of people out on the property, and it has over 2,000 feet of river frontage on the river. It's forested. It used to be a farm. That's why it's called the Old Boston Land. It used to be called the Old Boston Farm, but it reforested itself. And it had and it also has 2,800 feet of frontage on the North Village Road. We're going to put in trails, have hiking trails in there, and low impact recreational uses. That's the intended use for the property. Let's see. There's also a cemetery on the site, along with the foundations. This is Paul Will Sr. He's a lifelong resident of Ogunquit. He remembers being on the farm as a child, and as an older adult, he hunted on the property. And he remembers it when North Village Road was just a dirt road. So this again is 157 acres. It's one of the largest parcels left in Ogunquit under single ownership. And he also, Paul just happens to mention about coming over there, and they always had a keg of hard cider in the basement, and he remembers trying that out as a teenager. This project also abuts the Hilton Wind Preserve, but some of you might be familiar with on the Ogunquit River, the Ogunquit Road, and we will connect the trails to that. And with that connection, you'll be able to walk or hike on over 6,000 acres of protected land that stretch over to Mt Agamenticus. Great Works Regional Land Trust will own this property. The town of Ogunquit will have a conservation easement on it. Paul here is speaking about the development pressures that he sees in town, and how we need to protect something and keep some open space here in the community. And again, sort of the point of the video is to vote yes on question 10. And if you can't tell, these people are speaking their support for voting yes on 10. So thanks for putting up with me on my narration on that one. Val's and the narration that you put together for that was look at the video, and Keith Fletcher did the narrating, also provided the music. So yeah, if you have a chance, take a look at that.
I do believe that the video is available as a link on the Ogunquit Memorial Library page. So if anybody after the discussion wants to go there and see it with the narration, you can do that.
Yes, and it's also available from the Great Works Regional Land Trust Facebook page. But I worked for the Wells Reserve for about a little bit over 20 years, and one of my first assignments was to come down to Ogunquit and assist the town in keeping its clam flats open. And through that work, I quickly met Isabel Lawando and worked with her in the town for many years over the clam flats and her efforts and the town's efforts to keep that water clean and those clam flats open and available for residents. And during those 20 years, I worked and we did a land conservation plan for the Ogunquit River. We did a watershed survey that identified non-point source pollutions. We also wrote a watershed management plan. And then the town of Ogunquit has continued that work. They worked with FB Environmental to do considerable more water quality testing. They did another water quality non-point source pollution survey, and they've just completed another watershed management plan. And one thing I noticed through all those plans is one of the top recommendations or top strategies for protecting clean water in the Ogunquit River watershed is to keep a land in its natural vegetation. And certainly I learned that lesson from Isabel, and that's what I've been working on for 20 years with the Great Works Regional Land Trust. We have protected about 7 parcels in the Ogunquit River watershed, and we've protected 109 parcels altogether. You've got to remember that the Ogunquit River watershed, 63% of it's in Wells, only 16% of it's in Ogunquit, 7% in York, and I think 16% in South Berwick. So there's a lot of land has been done and protected, and that's what's going to keep this water clean. When I talked to the Board of Selectmen and the Budget Committee, I had to acknowledge that $300,000 was a big ask. It's a lot of money. It's been a difficult year for the town, certainly an uncertain year, and for a lot of residents. And so we were concerned about the $300,000 being a big ask. But this is going to be a one-time opportunity. Our purchase and sales agreement expires at the end of we were going to buy it. We have to act on the first parcel by the end of this year and the second parcel by the middle of next year. If we need to meet those deadlines to do that, or the family, we do not feel the family will will renegotiate those purchase and sales, or they will renegotiate those purchase and sales agreement, but it's likely to be at a much higher cost, because certainly since we reached this agreement a little bit over a year ago, we feel land prices have gone up considerably. So this is sort of a one-time thing, because we were asked, can we postpone this? Could we delay it? Could the town make a contribution over 1 or 2 years? And we said, well, no, because then we wouldn't be able to meet our contract obligations to the family. And we wouldn't be able to take that risk, because like I said, we got a $860,000 grant from the Maine Natural Resource Conservation Program, but that was for both parcels. So if we spent a lot of it on the first parcel, we would be we would have to guarantee to them we would purchase the second parcel. And if we didn't, we would have to refund that funder the money. So that was one of the reasons why this is kind of a unique opportunity to do it. And again, it's a difficult time. And one of the stories I told to the budget board, it was that 100 years ago, the situation was similar in many ways. World War I had just ended. A lot of things were uncertain. The Spanish flu was going through our communities, and it was an unsettled time back then also. But then again, a group of citizens in Ogunquit went out and they did an amazing thing. They went ahead and they saw what was happening in Wells along the beaches, and they went out and advocated for purchasing Ogunquit Beach. And they were successful, even though at a time that had to be difficult. And it's hard to imagine that there was some controversy doing that at that time. But if we look back on it today, it really is hard to imagine Ogunquit without Ogunquit Beach. I mean, it's not just a town resource, it's a regional resource. And the water quality of the Ogunquit River is what drives that economy and drives that resource. And that's one of the reasons that the Maine Coast Heritage Trust has been so involved that it lent one of its top land protection specialists, Keith Fletcher, to help out on this project. That's why the Maine Natural Resource Conservation Program gave this project $860,000. That's the largest grant they've ever given to any project. And again, the money for that grant comes from mitigation funds. It's when construction or projects impact wetlands unavoidably, and so rather than just destroying the wetlands, the owners of those projects contribute to a fund that then has to be spent to protect other wetlands in the area. And a lot of this money came from the expansion of the Turnpike toll booth. They had to destroy a number of wetlands there. And that's one of the projects, because this project was so close to that project, that was one of the reasons that we got as much money as we did. Any questions? I'll pause here just to give myself a break and stop talking for a minute if there's any questions.
Tin, I'll have to unmute everyone.
Okay.
So give me a second. I don't see a unmute all button, but anybody who wants to can unmute.
I got a question.
Sure.
That's Chris. Hi, Chris. Go ahead.
Hi. Do you have any maps that show the extent of the farm? I've been trying on the maps that I have, and it does not show.
Yes, we do. If we do have we have several maps. We certainly have a survey map. We're right now having a larger map printed, but you can stop at the Great Works office and get a small map of the property. Like I said, it's split. It's right along the town line between Ogunquit and York. In fact, 7 acres is actually in York, and the other 150 is in Wells. I mean, excuse me, in Ogunquit. So there is a map available at the office, Great Works office, which is at Beach Plum Farm. I should have added.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, or I'll continue for a little bit more?
Over here.
Hi, Paul.
I'd like to make 2 comments. One is, having been involved with dealing with the process of getting a grant, I congratulate you for getting any grant, never mind $860,000 worth. And the second thing, before I logged into this session, I listened to the video. I thought it was terrific. And you're right, the music adds a lot. And I think it's going to pay off. The biggest problem I see in town is I'm not sure the voters know what it's all about. And I think that video will help.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I'm sorry I couldn't get the audio to go with it. I've certainly got that written down on my list to develop my skills in that direction, because I was a very poor substitute on that.
Tin, this is David Ware at the library. I'd like to share my screen and ask a question. Can you stop sharing for a moment?
Sure. Can I? I can share screen,
Okay.
but I can't.
Yeah, well, you should see an option to. Okay, so I'm going to share mine.
Yeah, let me get that.
And so, can you see this photo of the beach?
Yes.
Okay, so this was taken during an October storm off the coast at some time. So my comment is how much of a recreational draw do you think that this area will have as another alternative to a reason to visit Ogunquit if the beach is not accessible at high tide? I would think that this area would be another thing to do in Ogunquit, and I don't know if probably businessmen will realize that they could turn a vacant house lot into a parking lot and run shuttles, or that Arrow's restaurant business may have a second life up that way. But what are the possibilities as a recreational area for Ogunquit? And is this part of your publicity for this?
Yeah.
Second thing I'd like to show you is this is our homepage. This is programs, along the top. And here's the link to this YouTube video right here under programs. And that will take you to that video. So I'm going to stop sharing, and I guess as co-host, you're still sharing there, Tin. So so again, what do you think the possibilities of like another draw for Ogunquit as a place to go and things to do?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it will be. We're certainly seeing that at our other conservation areas. We have them spread out in all of the 6 communities. We have the properties up in Ogunquit next to the dog park by the transfer station. Those are getting heavy use. Particularly this spring when, the pandemic kind of made us rethink and alter our lifestyle a little bit. A lot of our conservation areas got a lot of use, and the parking lots, actually, we had a little bit of issues there. People found the parking lots full and then started to park on the roads. So there was a big demand. And I think one of the things we came to realize is if you have that demand, you want to address it. If you can get people out in the woods and doing healthy activities, we certainly want to do that. And as far as the visitor economy, a lot of those people that are coming up are visitors. They are looking for something to do. And I think, this area, Ogunquit, York, Wells, we have an outstanding combination of not only things to do outside, such as the beaches, and we have the restaurants and we have the shopping. We have a nice combination of things here. And I think the one thing that the land trusts in the area are adding is that outdoor experience. And we're providing it at relatively low cost and just require some community participation. Again, this piece of property in particular is 157 acres. So there can be a couple miles of trails on it. It will be not difficult to hook it up to the multiple miles of trails at the Hilton Wynn Farm. So they'll be offering a variety of hikes from kids out there to people who are interested in going longer distances. Again, we haven't got a trail there, but you will be able to walk. I mean, you could walk, right now you can walk from the Hilton Wynn property all the way to the York River without only on conservation land. We need to build a trail that will do that, but we have segments of it in, and this will just add to that trail. So I think the recreational opportunities will be great. We also, accommodate hunting and fishing on our properties. Hunters and fishermen are some of our best supporters. Like I said, we own 75 properties. 73 of them are open to hunting and fishing. And one of the biggest things we get back from particularly hunters is they want to go out and have that experience, but they want to do it safely. And they're worried about the development they can't keep track of. But when they see blocks of conservation land, they can go out and enjoy safely. They're very supportive of that. And certainly this property will help with that too.
Yeah, Jen,
Yes.
Mike Horn.
Yes, Mike. Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to say a couple of things that through the years since the inception of the Ogunquit Conservation Commission, that
I'm in the Zoom meeting with the library.
So am I talking or somebody else talking?
Sit down.
I think you're
Anyway,
on, Mike.
since-
We can hear you, Mike.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, since the inception of the Ogunquit Conservation Commission in 2006, you've been a mainstay to us. You know, you've given us all kinds of guidance as far as acquiring properties and directions as far as conservation needs and et cetera. So I compliment you on that. The real important part that we've always felt since the inception, and that was our first goal, our first need to acquire open land. And with this piece of property, I tell you, you've really capitalized on that thing. And you and the Great Works are really to be commended for the effort on this, because as we all know, except for a few little small parcels, there really isn't much open land left in the Ogunquit. And if we lose this and it doesn't pass on the vote, then if it goes back to the owners and they sell it, what's going to happen is going to be developments, and there'll be houses and roads and streets and open land cut down, et cetera, et cetera. So again, all I'm saying is thanks to you guys and the Great Works, and Doug Mayer too, who's been just a great asset to us as a member of the board and a member of the Great Works. Really spends an awful lot of time trying to move us along on this thing. So I think this is the culmination, to me, almost is the culmination of all the work that's been done since the inception of the Conservation Commission. And we thank you.
Yes. Well, thanks, Mike. And thanks to you also for keeping the town having a conservation commission, because a number of the towns the Land Trust works in do not have active conservation commissions. And it certainly makes a much better partnership when there is one.
I don't know if I can have just a second to add something. What concerns me is that a lot of people don't seem to know about this. And so this came up really quickly. We were all kind of roadblocked when COVID happened, and it stopped everything in its tracks. And we're trying very hard to get all of this put through and voted in on November 3rd. And so if people could, as much as possible, share, talk about it. Yes on 10 is the mantra. And share the video, which is really helpful. It gives people a real visual. So that's what I'm hoping comes out of today. It just gets the word out, gets people talking.
Yes. Thanks, Val. I think, the thing is that $300,000 is a lot of money. It might only be a quarter of what this project needs, but it's still a lot of money. So it's not a small request to the town, and certainly I and Great Works understand that. So it's going to take the support of the community to make this happen. And so it's we're very supportive from the budget committee. They voted 5-0 to put it on the ballot. The selectmen also voted 5-0 to put it on the ballot. That doesn't mean they necessarily were fully supportive of it, but they were supportive enough to allow it to be placed on the ballot. So we were very grateful for them to doing that and taking that chance. There's two citizens groups in town, the Ogunquit Resident Association and Ogunquit United. They have come out jointly and said they support this project. But Val has an excellent point that it's still going to take people knowing about it. It is a very short timeline, and that was due to COVID in the spring, and no capital improvement items were on the July ballot in the Ogunquit, and we had to wait until how the summer went to see if it was even possible to make whether they would even entertain such a request. And that, they just agreed on the ballot, just a couple of weeks ago. So we have a very short period of time So if you are interested in this, you need to talk to your neighbors, find them who votes. We are doing walks on the property every Saturday morning from now on to election day. We'll be doing a walk. Just contact the office and register, so they'll make sure that to make sure someone will be there to give you the guided tour. But do that. It's beautiful out there in the fall. The river is a little bit low on water, but you then really realize that how important that asset is, because there are pools of water in the river. It's barely flowing, but there are pools, and it's those pools right now that are absolutely critical to wildlife, because they need water just like we do. And those pools are providing it right now, sort of a real lifeline.
Yeah, David, this is Doug Mayer. I'd like to make a couple of comments, if I may.
Go ahead, Doug.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. As Tin was mentioning, one of the properties that Great Works has under conservation is called the Pear Preserve, and that's the property that's just to the east of the transfer station. There's another property that's just to the north of the Pear Preserve, and that came up for conservation approximately, I'd say 6 or 7 years ago. It was owned by the Bassett family. And the town of Ogunquit at that time realized the value of fairly large parcels of land that could be put under conservation, especially if it was a contiguous property. So the town agreed to purchase the Bassett property, coincidentally, for $300,000. And that was for 40 acres of property. So this property, which is 157 acres, although it'll be owned by Great Works, the town will have the easement on it. And that will be for, and as Tin said, a considerable amount of money. But again, it's $300,000, just coincidentally. So that's potentially putting this very large property under conservation in perpetuity for everyone to use. And Tin did mention that when the question came up about recreational value, especially at extreme high tides on the beach, that for relatively low cost, this could be open to the public. The cost he was speaking about was for the stewardship of that land. The public has free access to all of the properties that are under conservation by the Great Works Land Trust. So costs to the public would be zero. And I think that's about all I can say at the moment, except I'd like to thank Mike Horn for his kind words. Thank you, Mike. And thank you, David.
I would just follow up a little bit on what Doug said and get back to the public access. So that will be in the agreement with the town of Ogunquit. Should the money be voted and expended, we will Great Works will enter an agreement with the town that guarantees public access to the property, and also guarantees that the land will forever be owned by either a nonprofit conservation organization like Great Works or a state agency or a government agency. So that's how we're going to make it sure this land stays open and available forever. Great Works also pays property taxes on its property, so it'll continue to pay property taxes on this parcel. And let's see what else. And we will continue to, also included in the just under $1.2 million that we're raising, we have included money in that for a parking lot and putting in trails. And that's very important because a lot of times when we first started out, we would just buy the property and we barely managed to buy the property. but we then had to try to raise the money for parking. And this time we included it all up front. So when we complete the project and complete the fundraising, we will have the money to do the minimal parking and trails. And the $300,000 from the town does not complete the project. We will still be raising up to about $50,000 privately in the community to actually round out the public access portion of the project.
Okay.
Sorry, Tin, I just wanted to add that there will be 75,000 of that will come out of the conservation reserve.
Yes, the way that the selectmen have decided to finance this contribution, should it pass, is $75,000 from existing funds that are in the Conservation Land Bank Fund in Ogunquit. And then the other $225,000 would be raised through a bond. And again, this is probably one of the best investments for bonding if you needed to borrow and bond, because when this bond is paid off and forever after, this property is still going to be here. And I think, just like Ogunquit Beach is here forever and has continued to contribute to the community, we certainly believe that this property will be along that same line of providing resources and benefits to the town.
Jen, I had a question about, have you placed this video on the Town of Ogunquit's TV channel?
We're looking at doing that. We do not, I do not offhand know.
I can speak to that.
Oh, yes. Thank you, Val.
Yep, I can speak to that, Tin. I did ask Pat, and she was looking into it for me. And then we found out right on the page, if you click onto it off of the town website, it says that nothing political may be posted. So unfortunately, we were hoping to get it playing, on rewind, just, some heavy playtime. But unfortunately, we cannot do that because of its political nature.
So that I think again, that kind of underscores, the challenge that certainly we're looking at to try to get the voters informed about this ballot question, because we're just a little nervous that if people walking in and seeing that ballot for the first time and not having heard about this project are going to have, might question voting yes for a $300,000 expenditure. So it's very important that, people go out and talk to their neighbors and talk to people and say, this is a good idea. We have some signs going up. We'll have some more signs going up. We'll have some, article in the Sentinel and some stuff in the York County Coast Star. But it's difficult to reach everyone in this, sort of fractured, fragmented news landscape that we now have.
Tin, David at Ogunquit Library, the library can't take any position one way or the other either, but as far as an informational thing, again, if you go to our, let me share this one moment. If you go to our website and you go to programs and you scroll down, here's the link to this YouTube video that will take you to the thing that Peter mentioned, trying to get on the town thing. But, we just offer this as information and people can make up their own mind. So back to you, Tim. Go ahead.
Again, I would just sort of reiterate, please watch the video. It's narrated much better than I was able to do in a short notice. I didn't realize until just before this program started that, because since I could hear the video and the audio just perfectly, it wasn't until David told me he wasn't hearing anything that I suddenly got a little bit nervous. So yeah, please do that.
I have a question for Mike Horn. Mike, when you put on the ballot to put a reserve of $25,000 over a period of 3 years, what was the voter reaction to that?
Mike, you're going to have to unmute.
Okay. Say that again.
Mike, when you were running the Conservation Commission and you made recommendations to create a reserve, and I believe it was $25,000 during each of 3 years, what was the voter reaction to that request?
Well, there was no time limit on it for number one. The initial, I'd say 8 or 9 years, in which we raised $225,000, was excellent. The town really stood up and gave us all its approval to continue with that. There was a select board chairman at one time who really didn't believe it, and he quote unquote said, "Well, I'm not throwing money down in a black hole." And so if we lost 1 year, we had to start all over again. And that was the year that we took 225 to buy some of this open land with. And since then, for the last, I don't know, 4 years, I think, that's where we get that $75,000, 3 years, $75,000 that's in the kitty now. The one thing I would say that the town as a whole has been extremely important and involved with the Conservation Commission. We've got an awful lot of accolades from those people, and the voters, etc. So I was going to comment, there should be a full press going on right now as far as the promotion of this thing, because unfortunately, the mail-in voters, there's almost 50% of the registered voters have already mailed in or will be mailing in their ballots. And so that there's only 50% people out there who can still vote between now and October, November 8th. And so that's what I'm saying. There should be as much of a full press from everybody on this thing to get it passed on the 8th.
Could I say something to
Go ahead,
Mike? Does
Judith.
anybody hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
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 We waited until we saw this video before we voted on this. We're absentee voters, but we haven't cast our vote yet. But we wanted to see this video first. So that was ours. Just what Mike was saying. Not enough people are probably seeing it. We're just lucky. I appreciated very much hearing all about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. David at the library again. Mike's comment about the fellow that didn't want to pour money down a black hole, that seems very short-sighted. And if there's a money down a black hole, it would be this scenario day after day at high tide on Ogunquit Beach. And, you've brought all these people up here and you want to give them something to do and stick around town and spend money. So there's your black hole. It's a beautiful high tide there, but beautiful picture. But anyway, that's my comment. Go ahead, Tin.
I've pretty much covered all I needed to cover or wanted to cover, so I was to answer any remaining questions.
Ken, I have a follow-up question,
Sure.
and maybe it's for you and Doug and the Conservation Commission, but this is a major opportunity right now. Looking forward, do you anticipate similar tracts of land coming up before Great Works and the Conservation Commission? Or is this sort of the end of the line in terms of availability?
No, we're hoping there will be additional opportunities. It's a long-term process for landowners to decide to release their land. A lot of times their land has been in the family for many years, if not generations. So our conversations are ongoing. We certainly have several of them happening in Ogunquit still, and we will continue those. So I think there will be opportunities more. And I think one of the things in the back of our mind is, can we or could we even possible? And I think there's it's still there on the ground that we could connect these properties to downtown Ogunquit. Even if, following the Ogunquit River, going under the turnpike, through the culverts of Ogunquit, and maybe getting all the way down to, Route 1 or something in Ogunquit. So you would be able to, wouldn't it be great if you could take a bike or a hike and walk up all the way along? So no, there will be continued opportunities here. They're not going to get any cheaper, but they will be continued. I mean, one of the things is, if we're successful in doing this, we have to realize that we're just making Ogunquit a more desirable place to live, in this region, a more desirable place to live. So people often say, well, your conservation, you're locking up land, you're stopping development, but that's not what really happens. If you look at communities that balance their growth with open space, so every child can take a bike and hop on a bike and go down the road and just go into the woods and get lost for a while. Those are the places that people want to live, and certainly I think it's certainly at an upswing right now. With COVID, a lot of people wanting to leave the cities right now because they can work from home. So I think it's going to keep this region as a desirable place to live, but it takes work, and this is part of that work.
And does this parcel fit within Agamenticus to the sea in terms of that longer range?
Yes, it does. And thanks for bringing that up, Peter, because I didn't mention that. This is the Mt Agamenticus to the Sea Conservation Initiative is a 10-member organization that has been working for a little bit over 20 years to conserve land, really in the greater Mt Agamenticus region and the York River region. Really, it stretches from really Route 9B up in Wells, over the Tatnick Hills, down over the upper reaches of the Ogunquit River, all the way to the York River, down the York River, and all the way to Garish Island. And our goal in this is one of those spots that, they always said that it doesn't shine, because at night, when you fly up the East Coast and you look down from Boston coming into Maine, and one black spot is Mt Agamenticus. Yeah. And so that's what the goal is to keep that in some ways black. I mean, it's a little bit of a joke we do, but it's true. And we have been successful. We have protected a little over 14,000 acres in that area. And we have a goal, and our goal is 19,000 acres, and the total area is 50,000 acres. But our goal is about 19,000 acres. And we selected that number because if you have that much of contiguous habitat, at least for wildlife, you can have all the creatures that are pretty much here at settlement. They might not be there, but they could be there and they could thrive. And of course, we're never going to get the wolf back or the cougar, but we do have bear, we do have moose. So I think that's a possibility. And again, that will balance, help with climate change and help with a lot of different things. So yes, the Mt Agamenticus thing has been a great success. And this is, to get back to the original question, yes, this is part of that in that area. And that's why it hooks up to 6,000 acres of contiguous conservation land. It's all been put together by the Great Works Regional Land Trust, the York Land Trust, the Kittery Land Trust, Maine Coast Heritage Trust, Nature Conservancy, Maine Inland Fish and Wildlife. It's been a nice partnership of federal, state, and local organizations.
Well done.
Yeah. If I may also add just for a moment, wouldn't it be wonderful to someday be able to take a trolley from downtown?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Well,
Oh, thank you.
hold
But
on.
wouldn't it be wonderful to be able to take a trolley someday from downtown Ogunquit up to the top of Mt Agamenticus and be able to hike from the top of Mount A to Ogunquit Beach? And I think that's the long-term goal that is just extremely desirable.
It is.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Well, Tim, thank you for presenting this thing today. If you need more information about this presentation, I'm going to put this up on YouTube, and it will be under this programs at the Ogunquit Memorial Library website. And I'll keep this link up with that video you were trying to present and we saw the images of. Let's see. So any further thing before I close this and stop?
Yeah,
the-
if you need more information or you want to pick up some literature, stop by the office at Beach Plum Farm.
Beach Plum Farm on Route
Thank
1 north
you.
of Ogunquit.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, that's where our Great Works Regional Land Trust has its office.
Okay.
Again, someone who donated a piece of property, and it's become one of the center places to go for in Ogunquit, as well as the extensive community gardens.
Yep, thanks to Joe Littlefield, yes.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
thanks to Littlefield.
Well, thank you very much. So I'm going to close out the meeting, and I'll sometime in November we'll start up a new series and have another Gabby gathering over Zoom. And one of these days we can have them here at the library in front of the fireplace. But for now, see you next time. Thank you very much.
Thank you all so much.
you,
That
Tim.
was lovely.
Yeah, thank you, David, for hosting.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
David.